back to another edition of Chats from the Blog Cabin, a special edition because I have a very special guest on. And if you not see her face, might be familiar if you've watched it before, because she's actually one of the people that's in my intros. You know, if you look in the video, you're one of the people that are in the video with Marissa. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Ooh, that's always a loaded question because I'm never quite sure what to say. But I'm Marissa. I've lived in North Carolina for over 10 years now. I've been blogging for over 10 years. I started my blog, Shabby Chic Cheap, after I had my son Ethan, who will be 10 next week. And it was sort of just a creative outlet for me, being a first-time mom and trying to figure out, I guess, how to fit in at, like, as a new mom and like, could I still wear these cool clothes, or could I still even be considered cool, and just lots of different things. So that's initially why I started my blog. I've definitely had times where I've taken breaks from blogging and times where I haven't worked so hard at it. Within the last 2 years, I've been really trying to stay diligent with it and monetize it in some ways. And so, it's grown a lot within the last 2 years. It's been a lot of hard work, but I feel like I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor a little bit, and it's really a good thing.
Let's talk about your blog a minute. I am going to share with with the viewers your amazing blog post that you wrote about your family. It says, "Look at these faces. What do you see when you look at these faces? Do you feel scared, threatened, at risk? How could anyone feel so threatened by these beautiful brown faces that they don't think that their life has any value is beyond me. Because when I look at them, I see little representations of my heart. The very same blood that courses through my body flows through theirs." And I honestly, this is an amazing, almost a love letter to your children, to your husband.
Yeah.
And you said earlier, you apologize for the language, but anybody that knows you knows that you don't normally use that type of language in your post. So that tells us how fired up you are about this. So I can just imagine how you must feel when you saw what happened this past week, and you've seen what happened in injustice, especially since you have 2 boys and a girl, especially for your sons. I know you're worried about your daughters, but for your sons for sure.
Absolutely. I think, we've seen this happen over and over again. And every time that it happens, it's hard. I think anytime, like, I remember, not to necessarily change topic, but like, I remember when Sandy Hook happened, and at the time, Ethan was the only child. And I remember like having him just sleep in my room for probably like 2 weeks after that happened, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't imagine how these other parents must be feeling. And so I just wanted to like feel him and just have him near me all the time. And so when that happened, I just let him sleep in my room for 2 weeks until finally we're like, all right, you got to go back to your room now. But I feel like every time one of these situations happens, it's even harder, if that's possible, because it happens so often, like so much more than it should. I mean, it shouldn't even happen at all, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And when things like this happen, like, it's such a different conversation that I have to have with him. And I can talk to him about school shootings, and they have the drills at school, and we do have those conversations. And I mentioned this this past week in my stories, where I said, like, for me, I don't get nervous about having to have the talk about the birds and the bees with my son.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that gives me anxiety, because my talk that I have to have with him is so different. Like, the talk that I have to have with him is about, racism and prejudice and, being targeted unfairly. And, the questions that I have to answer from him are questions of why he can't do certain things the way that his friends can, or wear certain things all the time. And it's hard because, an example is, like, he loves wearing hoodies. I buy them for him all the time. But whenever we go out somewhere, I was like, take the hood off your head. Don't put your hands in your pockets. Don't touch anything in the store. Like, that it's not fair that I have to do those types of things with him. Or when he's playing outside, like, well, be careful how you're playing outside, because I don't want it to look a certain way. Like, I don't let him play with his Nerf guns outside at all. Like, it's just, that's no. you can't do that. When he was in kindergarten, I bought him his first Nerf gun. My husband bought him his first Nerf gun. I wouldn't have bought it for him. So my husband bought him his first Nerf gun, and he loved it. Of course, he's a boy. And I told him that it was okay for him to play with it inside, but we could not take it anywhere. And it's like this bright, horrific, like neon green color. So like does not look realistic whatsoever.
Mhm.
But I still, still like, no, you cannot take this anywhere. And he snuck it to school one day, and I freaked out. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he took this to school. I don't want anything to happen. And so I remember like emailing his teacher, like, hey, I'm so sorry. It's in his backpack. Like, she went and she got it. But I just remember like that panic that I felt, because I was like, I just don't want it to be taken the wrong way or looked at the wrong way, or just like anything to happen, because there have been kids who are playing in the park with these fake toy guns that have been mistaken for being real, and or even cell phones. I mean, for mistaken for being a weapon. And so that panic and that fear I felt, I mean, justified, but I shouldn't have to like feel like that. And I shouldn't have to have necessarily these types of conversations with him. And especially at such a young age, because it's delicate. I don't want to frighten him. I don't want him to be afraid of the world, but I also want him to be very aware and cognizant. And I want him to, have that knowledge that when he goes out, that he has to present himself a different way. You have to speak a different way, walk a certain way, wear certain things, because we just don't want you to be mistaken for being something that you're not, or targeted for being something that you're not.
I hate that you have to have that conversation with him, and I'm sure your little one, once he's getting older, you have to have the same conversation.
Oh,
How did
yeah.
you feel about what has happened? Because
You know, my husband does not cry. Oh God, he's going to hate me for saying this, but
you won't.
even yeah, I don't keep it a secret. But even he, the other day, he told me, he's like, I was at work and I decided to go grab some lunch, and he said he was just sitting like in his truck eating his lunch, and like I think just everything hit him. He's like, I like cried a little bit, because he's like, it's heavy. It's so heavy. It's exactly what I said in my blog post. Like, it's just so heavy. And we have to walk around and carry that weight all the time. It's not like just oh, this week I'm feeling like really sad and heavy, but like next week I'll be fine. Like, it's a consistent weight that we are bearing all the time, because it happens all the time and we have to deal with it all the time. And I can't just take it off and just be like, oh my God, I don't feel like dealing with this today.
Mhm.
And so imagine just having to carry that on top of like just normal things that happen every day in your life, or pretending that you go into work, and go get on your conference calls or go to your meetings, and like you can't really, it's not something you can really show or display. I don't think a lot of people before now, more recently, would even justify, like, when they ask you like, how are you doing, you're like, oh God, I feel so sad because this, and they're like, well, you didn't even know him, or like, yeah, that's really bad, but hopefully things will get better. And I don't know what it is about George Floyd that's woken so many people up, and just like sparked that fire. And I'm really glad that it has. And I hope that maybe things can end with him. Unfortunately, he had to lose his life, but maybe there won't be another, Trayvon Martin or George Floyd, or Breonna Taylor. Like, maybe we can finally just say enough is enough.
I think a lot of the reason that it hit people was because it was actually on camera, and he was absolutely doing nothing at all, nothing at all. So I'm just honestly, and just hearing him saying I can't breathe, and they're not doing anything about it, and just standing there.
I'll be honest, I have not watched the video on my own choice. It would be just a very hard thing to have to watch. And but I've seen clips, of course, in the media, the news. I've heard clips of him, and it's hard to even just listen to. So I haven't mustered up enough to watch it yet, but it's horrifying.
Don't watch it. I watched the whole thing, and all I could see the whole
Okay.
time was, because remember I shared with you on my Instagram. I said, "Hey, go check this out. If there's anything I need to change, let me change.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want anybody to hurt." I saw my adopted son Paul's face. So honestly, don't watch it because I think it would be more for you. I
You
mean,
know, I
for
see, I see, I think about all the men that I have in my life. I have a father, I have a 14-year-old brother because my dad waited so long to give me what I wanted. And, I've got my two sons and I've got a husband and I've just got a host of uncles and friends and family. And any one of them could be that could be any one of them. And, that's terrifying. There are times where, and I don't take it for granted, where my husband might be like, "Oh, I'm running to the store really fast," and then he's like, "Why are you giving me this like huge hug? I'm literally going around the corner to Walmart." I'm like, "I don't know," because I don't know, like
yeah.
just in case.
And I hate that. A lot of people they were like, oh, they were aware of racism being around, but I think now it's really hitting home that hey, this is definitely what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely been around. I remember when we had my son Ethan. He was 2010, and we had his birthday is June 14th. So the tags on my car had expired in between the time that I had him and got sent home. So I just hadn't had a chance to like update the tags yet. And I think this was like the first time Larry left the house since we had him. And I'm talking about like maybe expired like the 31st of May, and we're like June 16th. So, like not long at all. But like one of the first days that he left, and he was just going to go get a haircut and come back home. So he goes downtown to get his haircut. We've got, car seat and all of that stuff in there. And he gets pulled over because this cop saw that the tags, or I don't even know. Actually, I don't know why he wasn't speeding or anything, but the cop pulled him over and then realized the tags were expired. And, he did everything that you're supposed to do. Hi, ma'am, how can I help you? Registration, license, all of that good stuff. And like nothing in his car that's questionable. And it was my car that he was driving. And she makes him get out of the car and like does like all of this, like get onto the sidewalk, pat him down, search the car. There's the car seat in there. So we're just like, okay, like what do you think we're hiding in here? And then he comes home after that and he was just like, I can't believe what just happened to me. Like I was literally just driving home from the barber shop and she pulled me over. I don't know why. I wasn't speeding. She realized after pulling me over the tags were expired, and then she made me go through all of this for like expired tags.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just honestly, I can't imagine that what
Yeah.
you guys have to deal with every day. I mean,
And expired tags, literally, like that's it. So that's exactly why sometimes I hug him a little bit longer, or I'm like, well, I'll just run to the store. Like, you don't worry about it. Like, you stay home. Like, I know, and I can't stop him from living. I can't stop him from going out and doing things. I can't stop him from even taking like Ethan out and like, doing like having guy time. But like during those times, I'm constantly like on edge. I'm like, well, where are you guys? Are you guys, still at the park? Are you guys still at the store? Like, are you on your way home? And if he doesn't answer within a certain amount of time, I start panicking and I'll call and I'll be like, hey, I just like sent you 3 messages. And he's like, well, we're at the arcade, like we're playing games. Like I can't, I like, and I get that, but I'm like on edge. So I need him to like, just be like, we're playing some games. Everything's okay. We're still at the arcade. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it does create that. Even recently, like last year, I got pulled over and I was dropping my kids off at daycare, and I just remember like he pulled me over as I was pulling into the daycare. So he was still behind me as we're in front of the child care center. And I like had the kids in the car with me because I'm dropping them off. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, how is this going to play out? Like, I've got the kids in the car. I don't know. Like, I was freaking out. And so it was a really nice officer. And he came and he's like, do you want to take them inside? But then I thought to myself, like, do I take them inside? Because then I have no witnesses. But do I, like, if something happens and I keep them in the car, then that's a horrific thing to, like, witness if something does happen. So I did end up taking them inside. And I came back out. And I just remember, like, he didn't even end up writing me a ticket. I think this guy just saw, like, how freaked out I was. like he was asking me for my license, and I like my hands were shaking literally like this, like I'm like handing it to him, and I'm just like, you know, here you go. And he's like, calm down, it's okay. And I was just like, I'm sorry, like, you know, I'm just like, I don't really get pulled over often, and like this is just really nerve-wracking. And so he's like, well, I'll just let you off with a warning. And you know, he's like, just watch your speed or whatever. I was in a rush that morning. So, but you know, he let me go. But I just remember, like, I had to sit there for 15 minutes. Like, it was not even like a negative experience, but I had to sit there and calm myself down. Like, I called my husband and I was like, oh my God, I just got pulled over. And he's like, you know, are you okay? Is everything? I'm like, yeah, I didn't even get the ticket, but I'm just like, I feel like I'm going to like have an like anxiety attack, like a panic attack, because it's just scary. Like seeing those lights, hearing that siren, like it's just like, it does not make me feel safe or secure. It just scares the crap out of me.
I think anybody that gets pulled over by police scares the crap out. But you have that extra added thing that
Yeah.
anxiety that makes the anxiety rank it up even higher. And I just,
Yeah.
like I said, I can't even imagine having to deal with that every day. And I mean, it shouldn't be like that. This world should not be like that.
No. And, you know, we, you know, in these conversations, we certainly don't portray or paint law enforcement officers in a negative light to our kids. Like, we want them to know that the police are there to help us. They are here to keep us safe. They are here to do their jobs. But, you know, just like any other, you know, profession, that, you know, sometimes there are those bad apples in the bunch. And so, you know, because of that, you have to be careful.
Yeah. I look on the call that we were on last week, the women's panel chat. I actually told him, I was like, full disclosure, my dad was a cop. So every time I see
Hmm.
cops and see, I have to wait and kind of see the whole picture before I do judgment, because
Yeah.
I remember the kind of cop my dad was. And he was one of these ones that he was like, he would stop in little old ladies and have lemonade with them. He was like community police. And
Yeah.
the people Rada actually brought up and said that most of the time, the cops that are serving the communities now don't know the communities that they're serving.
Hmm.
That community policing has kind of gone out the door, and it's more,
Yeah.
like they're on edge as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what the cops did was right with George.
Right. But
It
I
was,
feel like, you know, it is fair to say that we can be on edge and they can be too, because the eyes are on them now too, you know, and to that point, even today, I was running some errands earlier and I was passing by Cary High School, and there were about 4 or 5 police cars out, and I only saw one kid, like he had like a moped, as an African American kid on the sidewalk with a moped, and like 4 or 5 police trucks. And so I was just like, what the heck? Like, and the thing could not possibly go any faster than 25 miles an hour. So I have no idea why. Like, I didn't see any other cars to say like maybe there was some sort of an accident or anything. It was just him and like 4 or 5 police cars and at least 2 officers in each car. So like I was just like, what the heck is happening over here? But I don't know. Maybe that's an added measure so that they have witnessed it. Like, I mean, I'm not sure what, you know, what the processes are now with all of this going on, but I think it's always smart to get the whole story first and not jump to conclusions. I think the media can make you anxious with the way that they portray things and make it look. And so I feel like, you know, and it's hard to, because, you know, you got one person's story and another person's story, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle. And I think, you know, as much, you know, try to get as much as you can to make the best decision and to figure out what's actually happening or what actually took place. I don't think it's fair to jump to conclusions. I don't necessarily always side with like, oh, the cops are wrong or it's their fault or whatever. I want to get the truth too, and I want to see like what actually happened and form that opinion myself. I can't just go off of like what everyone else is saying.
that's true. Now let's talk about a little bit about, let's switch gears a little bit and talk
Yeah.
about shades of influence, because that is
Oh my
really
gosh, that's my baby. That's my baby. So there is another group of 4 beautiful women, and they are called Influencing in Color. And I saw their page and I got inspired by them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do a photo shoot with a whole bunch of African American women who have different skin tones, different hair types and textures and styles. And I just feel like this would be so amazing to do. And so initially, it just started out as a photo shoot idea. And I asked Tiffany and Shaquita, amongst some other fabulous women, to be a part of it. And they just really stepped up to the plate when I invited them to be a part of it. They wanted to be involved. They asked me, what did I need help with? Do I need help coordinating things? Do I need help? Like Shaquita, she's got such a business mindset. She's like, well, have you thought of partnering with people for clothing? And I was like, oh my God, no, I did not even think about that. I just figured I'd wear my own clothes. So, she really pushed me to kind of even go beyond the initial vision that I had for it. And so as we were, in the midst of getting all of this together, doing the photo shoot, it was so much fun. We utilized so many local places, small businesses. We did Front Row Cosmetics, and so that's a woman-owned local um, business. We had Shop Elsie. She created these beautiful earrings for us in our skin tone. We worked with Belk at Crabtree Valley Mall for the clothing items, and we worked with an amazing photographer and who did the shoot for us. Just that was it because he believed in the vision so much, and so. After all of that, I just asked them, I was like, do you think we could make this like a thing, And so they'll tell you, I asked them in the cheesiest, bachelor way ever. I was like, will you guys accept this rose? Will you guys ride or die with me on this thing? And so they said yes. And so we've been, working on it. It's taken a little bit of a pause with the Rona and everything going on, but we've still got just so many ideas, and the main idea behind it is just bringing more of awareness to brands to be more inclusive and have a diverse marketing plan and strategy when they're releasing new items or pieces or whatnot. I don't see a lot of myself reflected in a lot of the feeds that I follow and a lot of the businesses that I support, and those are for local boutiques as well as the bigger name brands. And so it's always nice to see, myself reflected when I am shopping. And I don't think that that's, something that isn't fair to ask. Just like we want to be body inclusive, which I'm a huge proponent of, we also want to diversify the feeds with different races and ethnicities and cultures as well.
That is so cool. I love the campaign that you guys started about commenting on brands about how are you supporting Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
How are you going to make, that's just awesome. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, again, I think it just comes back to not seeing ourselves in the marketing for some of these brands. And, I'll tell you one specific example is I wrote a message to Shop Red Dress, which I even discovered from a Black blogger, a fashionable believer, Chelsea. So the very first time I ever heard of them was from her doing a try on. But when I look at their feed, I mean, I might see a Black blogger one every 9 squares, maybe. And there are a lot of other Black bloggers that promote their items, do these try-ons. But the feed does not reflect that. And so if I'm good enough to promote your item, then I should be good enough to represent your brand on your feed, not just in a story that expires in 24 hours, or not just on my stories where maybe, your audience doesn't see that as a collective. So my audience sees it, and then my audience might say, oh, I loved that dress that Marissa tried on, so I'm going to go and support this business. But if you're not really fully backing me up and you're profiting off of me, that's not fair. So Tiffany is the one that actually inspired me to start doing that, because she was calling them out, and I was like, that makes sense. I don't even know why we never thought about this before. We're not in these feeds, and I'm buying money, or I'm buying items and clothing. I'm shopping all the time. Unfortunately, don't tell my husband. And this quarantine's really, I don't know. I know they say the economy's hurting. I feel like I've done my due diligence in helping to keep it alive. So
yeah, that follows your Instagram feed knows that you have try-on stories, and I'm like, oh, it looked that good in that dress that she just posted.
it's not for lack of not, I'm shopping all the time. I'm purchasing things. I love to try to shop local when I can. I love to try to shop from women-owned businesses in particular, and then I love to shop from Black-owned businesses because I just don't feel like they get the exposure that they deserve, and I want to bring awareness to that, and we want to talk about it, and see what we can do to change just that narrative.
I mean, just look at this picture of you in a pink dress. I would like a big sack, but look.
Oh my gosh. So can I tell you, I bought that dress, as you saw, in black. On the Our Shades of Influence page, we did a photo shoot in it, in the black one, and I loved it. Like, I did not want to take that dress off. I loved it so much, and I knew my birthday was coming up. And so birthdays that end in 5 or 0s are big birthdays for me. And so I was like, I need like a big poofy pink dress. And so I ordered the same dress in pink.
I mean, it's so fabulous. I mean, anybody that looks
I love it
would see.
Every
once in a while you throw food in, but I mean, oh my gosh, just the.
Well, I love to eat. If anyone that knows me can tell you, like, Marissa loves to shop and she loves to eat. So yeah.
Oh, I gotta pull this one up though. I don't think I've seen the Tinder you, but I've seen the other 3 you on stories.
Yes. Oh my Lord. I wouldn't even know what to do with a Tinder. Would not even know what to do. I talk, I've got a few friends who are single and they've had to, use Tinder and all the other things. And I'm just like the horror stories that they say, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad like I don't have to deal with that.
So what are some of the tips that you can tell us about, especially as bloggers, of trying to be inclusive in everything, like in your feeds?
So one thing that I want to make clear, well, 2 things. One, obviously, I'm not the authority on all things Black. Like, these are solely my thoughts, my opinions, and my feelings. And 2, I think there's been, because of this whole movement, I think there's been a lot of people, because I've had people reach out to me and they're like, I just feel so guilty. I'm so sorry. And they're like apologizing and they feel bad. And it's not about, feeling guilty, and it's not about feeling bad. Like, it's just about being aware and bringing about that awareness and talking about it. And one thing that I've talked about a lot is it's about starting these conversations and fostering these conversations and educating yourself. And so, there have been quite a few bloggers who have seen an influx of followers, and that's great. But like, don't follow me just because I'm Black. Follow me because you look at my content and you're like, you know what? I connect with this content. I'm interested in a lot of the things that she talks about. I'm interested in a lot of the things that she shares. And if I'm not that person for you, that's totally fine. But there are so many other bloggers out there that you could follow and support and do the same thing. So I feel like diversifying your following and diversifying your feed, as a business, diversifying your feed, as a follower, diversifying your following, who you're following, would be so helpful, because then you get to see the different sides. For me, growing up as a military brat, I was constantly surrounded by just like diversity. You're moving from base to base. You've got all these different cultures when you're moving from country to country. And so for me, that's never been an issue. I've always just seen people as people and know that, like, well, this person, does this and that person does that, and that's just who they are. And like, I could, you know what I mean? Like, not that I could care less in a negative way, but just like, that's just who they are. So I think this movement has just brought about maybe like just like an eye-opening moment for so many people. And it's good to have that aha moment, but then like once things kind of settle down, like you still need to keep up that momentum and keep having these discussions and conversations, and not necessarily just with like your family, because and not even just these are Black and white people alike need to have these conversations. I have them with my family and with my friends of both races. It's not just like a one-sided thing. And some of them are uncomfortable because maybe you have someone who feels differently or just doesn't know. And a lot of times it's just people don't know. So it's taking that time out to go to them and say, like, listen, I saw you post this the other day, or I heard you say this the other day, or I saw you do this the other day. or whenever. And, this is why we shouldn't be doing those things or posting those things or saying those things or harboring those feelings or, perpetuating anything. Like, it takes those conversations. And so I think that that's what's really important. It's going to be uncomfortable. Trust me. I have had some uncomfortable, like, some real uncomfortable conversations, but they're so necessary. And then when you come out on the other side and the person is like, oh my gosh, like I just never knew, or I never thought about it that way, or like it just didn't hit me. It's such an amazing moment of clarity. And I always tell people, like, if you lead with love, then it's going to be received that way. It's not about going to someone and like accusing them or being accusatory or rude or disrespectful. I want to go to you in the same manner that I would want someone to come to me, because I'm not perfect either. And there are mistakes I've made and things I've said that are not right either. I have a really good friend who's Asian, and we talk about cultures all the time. Her culture is so different as an Asian woman, but there have definitely been things that I have learned of Asian culture that's just so vastly different, that might seem strange or disrespectful or rude, but like when she breaks down why they do those things, or why this is like a tradition, or then it makes sense and I understand it, and then I have no choice really and truly but to respect that and respect her and her culture and her practices. But it takes her talking to me and having these conversations. And I'm sure sometimes she's probably like, I'm so tired of like educating on this, but like if she doesn't, then I feel comfortable enough to go and talk to her and ask her these questions. Like, she's my resource.
Yeah. I know one of the things that I shared last Wednesday on the chat with all the women was that how I'd always said I taught my girls not to see color. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
how I really taught, but I just put it out there because it was a blanket statement. And
Right.
what I really meant to say, and people told me to rephrase this, is that, yes, we see your color. We see what a beautiful, like right now, I see what a beautiful Black woman you are. But let don't let the color of somebody's skin define of how you're going to treat them. So I had to
Right.
rephrase it and teach them like that, because I never thought that I taught my girls not to see color was
Mm-hmm.
considered covert racism. I never knew that.
Right. Because the point is, like, I don't want you to not see my color. Like, I'm proud of who I am and my skin tone. Much like I'm sure like your husband, like you wouldn't want someone to not see his color because that's part of his heritage and part of who he is. And the same for you. Like I wouldn't want someone to not see yours because you've got a heritage of your own. So we want to own that and we want to love that and love that part about ourselves. But we just want to acknowledge maybe some of the prejudices that might come with someone having a different skin tone or a different be a different race from us or be different, and not even just a different race, but I mean really and truly we can expand that to just like someone who's different from us, period. Maybe someone who has a wheelchair, or somebody who is an amputee. So I mean, I feel like just all around, if we take the moment or take the time to kind of talk to people, um, and hear their stories, share our stories, we would find that we're more alike than we are different.
That is so true. We are so like, I mean, we love, like, you and I both love coffee. Was it
Yeah.
like to go what Sonic, or is it Sonic to get your hot dogs? Is it Sonic that you get your hot dogs, or
I
somewhere?
so well, they closed now. I used to go to this place called Freddy's, but they closed the one by us. And so now I need a new hot dog place. Yeah, I gotta find one. I'm trying to think. Like, I made my husband grill some hot dogs for me the other night. It was like 8 o'clock, dark outside. I'm like, I really just want some hot dogs. So yeah, he's probably like, yeah, you need to find a new hot dog place too, because like I'm not going to be starting a grill at 8 o'clock at night every time.
That's like, learn to grill on your own.
I know, I know, but it's nice to be able to watch a Lifetime movie while he does it, and then I can just eat it and appreciate that he did that for me.
I'm going to share with my viewers the very first time I met you. Do
Yes.
you remember the very first time we met?
Was
In
it the Southern Women's Show, right?
No,
No? Did we meet before that?
it was at the East Coast Influencers event at All
Oh my God.
Park.
Yes. Yeah,
And
yeah,
Marissa walks up to me and says, "You're the one with the log cabin. I've been
yes. Yes.
seeing you."
Yes. Oh my gosh. probably borderline stalked your profile. I don't want to say anything incriminating, but um,
You
there
said
were.
you and your husband were stalking it to see how things were going to turn out.
I thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, oh my gosh, she's got like a whole cabin dedicated for this like vlogging, and it's amazing. And I still have to come see it in person.
You and Sophia. Sophia's tuned in and said, "Hi, ladies." And
Oh,
then you
hey, Sophie.
Carrie Miller says, "Hey, hey."
Carrie, hi.
Yeah, you do have to come down and see it. And who
I
knew when I
know.
started this and opened and made an office outside the home that I would end up doing chats from the blog cabin?
I know, this is amazing. It's so good to see, and I think it's just another way to kind of connect with your audience
Yeah.
and be like personable.
Sophia said, "Yes, we still need to make that trip." Yes, Sophia, we.
Listen, we're doing a road trip as soon as we can because first of all, Melissa's promised delicious food, which like I was sold after that. And second of all, this cabin I've been stalking for over 2 years now needs to be seen. So
Can you believe that it's been 2 years since I've actually purchased it?
no, that's amazing.
It's just like it's so unreal. I was like, I can't believe it.
It's amazing. I love it. I love it. It's been so great to even see how much you've grown with your ideas and your posting and all of that, even in that time since you purchased it.
Now, if Shades of Influence ever want to use it to come
Yeah.
and do a shoot here, they're more than welcome to come.
Well, I will let them know. Absolutely. I
A little
love
bit
it. Yeah.
quiet, but still.
We've been talking about, well, oh my gosh, well, like Shaquita lives like 45 minutes away, so we owe her some drives. Yeah, we've been talking about starting to shoot again and just trying to figure out how to shoot and social distance and just all of that. So it's been interesting, but we've definitely had some conversations, and we're ready to push out some new content. And I think this is um, I guess even more of a moment for us to do so and to speak out and to kind of get that attention. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, you definitely guys need to shoot somewhere because you guys are. Oh, I've never met. Was it Tiffany? It's Tiffany. The other. I met you.
Mm-hmm.
I met you at. I met you before, but I met Chiquita at the What is it? The NC influence. The influence.
Yeah, yeah. She was on the panel.
And
Her
her
and
husband
Molly
was
and
supportive of her. I was like, man, I've never seen a husband that supportive of someone in
oh my
blogging.
gosh. Listen, that man, Doug, loves that woman so much. Like it's I mean, he's so supportive. It's amazing.
It is. I mean, it's. I was like, for him to actually come, while all the rest of us are a whole bunch of women, and he's sitting there going, yes, and he's showing paper where she was in the paper. And showing all,
Oh my
man, if only my husband felt that way. He's like, oh, blogging, whatever. Okay, I just know you make.
gosh.
I don't care, right?
He's like, "Are you happy? All right, cool. We're good." Yeah. No. I don't I mean I would my husband would go, but I'd have to ask him. I don't think he would just voluntarily be like, "Hey, you're going to this blogging thing? I'll come too." I'd have to be like, "Hey, we're going to this blogging thing. Would you mind coming?" And I'd probably have to like make a steak dinner too. So
But didn't you do something to your dining room a little bit to where you do your try-on sessions at?
well, I realized the lighting was better in there, so we bought like a mirror and put it down there, and we moved the dining room around so that it could be like a little better. And then I decided I wanted to come back upstairs, so he put together a ring light that I ordered. I need to like start using it. Um, I mean, he's helpful. I'm not saying he's not, but I just don't know that he's like, I'll help behind the scenes. I don't necessarily want to come to these events unless like I have to. So
Mine was all the sweat equity, and he took my vision and did everything. I mean,
it's
I paid for
amazing.
inside and outside, but he did the sweat equity. So he probably put more hard work in here than I did.
I love it. I love it so much.
So tell us one unusual thing about you, because I've been asking everybody that comes on one unusual thing.
Huh. I don't know. Does like I've never been stung by a bee before. Is that unusual?
That is kind of
I
unusual.
am terrified of bees because of it. I legit, as grown as I am, will like run across the street like like this today when I came back from Trader Joe's. I made Larry come outside because like there's a big wasp by the door. Like shoo it away because I can't come inside. I'm still in the car. And he's like, really? I'm like, yes, please, please. Like I can't. I'm so terrified of getting stung. I have no idea if I'm allergic because I've never been stung, and so I'm just a mess.
Okay, now that you're talking about you went to Trader Joe's and your husband, I have to ask you to share that story that you posted on Instagram about your husband, or was no Facebook about your husband when you went out and there was something on your front porch.
Oh my God. So, yeah, no, I went out onto the front porch the other day. I was going to my first hair appointment since all of this started. So, super excited. And I look over and I see what I think is a snake because that's exactly what it looked like. And so I was like, oh my God. So, I like back into the house and I was like, Larry, like, he's like in the middle of playing like a game. He's like, what do you need? I'm like, no, you need to come here. And he's like, what? I was like, I'd like you need to come here right now. So he comes to the front door and I'm like, there's a snake outside. I don't want the kids to freak out or hear me. And so like, even when he looked from where the front door is to where they were on the porch, he was like, oh my God. And so I was like, yeah, I don't know what you're going to do. I'm going to my hair appointment because I can't be late, but like maybe have the whole house packed up by the time I get back because we're going to like, that's it. So I go to the hair appointment. While I'm there, he texts me and he was like, yeah, there's two lizards having sex. Not a snake. I was just like, ew, it looks so like, I mean, the way they were like, oh my God, I swear, like, I'm so mad I didn't take a picture because I swear, like, if you guys could have seen it, you would have been like, oh, that's definitely a snake.
Yeah, because it's so funny that you would say that because my friend Alyssa posted on her Instagram on her stories today two lizards. I was like, oh my God.
Like, what is it? Is it their mating season? I don't know. Like, take it somewhere else, please. Not my front porch.
Especially when trying to explain to your
A
kids.
little
They do
discretion, a little privacy. Yeah.
They're just friends. They're having a sleepover. That's all.
They're just wrestling. That's all. No worries. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. I was relieved. And then I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe that's what I thought. But totally looked like snakes.
So, what's up next for Shabby Chic Cheap?
I mean, I'm definitely going to keep talking about the issues that are happening. I think I won't, I'll say that I've evolved and my blog has evolved a lot more since I first started. I mean, really, when I first started, it was about finding deals and thrifting and things like that. And are absolutely things that I still enjoy doing. But now I try to incorporate a little bit more of like my personal life and things that I like to do and see more. So I'm going to keep sharing, stories of what's going on, like the lizard incident. But I'm also going to talk about things that are happening in the world and how it affects me or how I feel about it, or here's some resources that I think would be helpful because I think that's what's important. And a lot of times people, you know, talk about influencers not being authentic, and that's something that I've always strived to be, is to show who I really am. I don't want someone to come to my feed and just be like, she's constantly selling me things, or I just don't really know who she is. Sometimes my room's messy. I've gone on stories before and been like, this is my bathroom right now and it is disgusting. And then I'll show like the after when I finally clean it up. I'm like, I feel so much better now because that's real life. And my house isn't perfect and my life isn't perfect, and the world is not perfect. And so I just want to share all of that with everyone, and share myself with everyone in that way.
Well, anybody that follows you, I don't see where they would ever have a problem with anything you do because you're so authentic. When you
Thank
come
you.
across, it's just like I said when I was reading your story, and I was like, "Whoa, you dropped that bomb." That is so not like Marissa. She's really fun.
Yeah, no. I mean, it just really hit home, and it's tiring to see. It's so like you're just like another person. Like it's like when like what like something needs to change at this point, and I just feel like I'm hopeful that this is the time that those changes are going to happen. We've got, so many more, um, I guess, people in power that are behind it now, seeing the Black Lives Matter along that DC street, seeing end racism now painted on downtown Raleigh. It's got so many more eyes on it. And so I hope, I really, really hope and pray that this isn't something that like falls on the wayside when it's not popular. Color Me Courtney's a influencer that I follow, and she's really sweet. She lives in New York, and she posted something last week that said, "I'm Black when it's not trendy." And that's 100% true. I'm Black every single day of my life, when it's popular and when it's not popular. And these issues are things that I deal with and face and think about every single day. And so, I hope that everyone who's speaking up and making these donations and doing all the wonderful things that I'm so appreciative of them taking the time to do, I hope that it's just something that they continue to do, continue educating themselves. And I don't even mean like, there have been a lot of resources like, White Fragility is a book that's been thrown around a lot. Why are all the Black kids sitting together in the cafeteria is another book. And those are great resources and people should read, as much as they can. But like take the time to read like some like nonfiction stuff or happy things too. Like Black people aren't always about like, fight the power. Like we love to laugh, we love to joke, we love to cook, we love to do so many different things. And there's so many fantastic like writers and authors and artists and chefs and musicians and poets. Like there's so much more beyond just like the racism issue. So take your time and like just make yourself aware of Black authors and black actresses and actors and playwrights. And I mean, just, there's just so much more. Like really do a deep dive. Like it doesn't always have to be like heavy literature or heavy material. There's just a plethora out there. So, familiarize yourself with those things too. We can get so bogged down, and that can be depressing, and that can be heavy, and that's not the point of all of this. So, make sure you're taking time for yourself, being gentle with yourself, taking care of yourself, and not just, feeding in on all the oppression and the heaviness that's there, because there's lots of light to be shared too in the darkness.
Yeah, definitely. And you're definitely shedding light in the darkness, because
Thank you.
honestly, since this happened, because that's not how I grew up. That wasn't my culture, but now
Yeah.
I'm learning more about the culture because of this has happened. And
Yeah.
I want to mention that two great movies that are actually free right now. They're streaming free is Just Mercy, and
Yes.
Selma is actually streaming free. If you walk away from either one of those movies not crying, there's something wrong with you.
I'm a
Because
big crybaby. So
I'm there to see, especially Selma, because Selma talks about the march when they're trying to get rid
yeah,
of, and
Selma
what
was a great movie.
the highway patrol people do when they're on the bridge.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, I had to stop the movie for a minute and just have a really
Yeah,
good cry, because I'm like, how can another human being do that to another human being? I just don't understand.
it's heavy. But one thing is the perseverance that all of those people continue to have, and just that dream that we're still striving for, which is honestly just like true equality. We've definitely made strides, towards that. Segregation is no longer a thing, but there's still definitely more strides to be made, to have that equality that we really want. And people argue and they're like, oh well, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, and it's just this big back and forth thing. And so it's not about saying that our lives are more important, because that's not what we're saying at all. But we're just saying like right now in this moment our lives are being threatened,
Mhm.
and that we matter too, and that we're important too, and that our lives have value too. And when I look at my children, I see, you know I see just unbelievable innocence and love and potential and value. And I want other people to see that when they look at them. I don't want them to see a threat. I don't want them to feel afraid. I don't want them to think that they are less than, because they're not. And so that's what this is about right now. This isn't saying that I'm here and my life matters more. It's saying that my life is threatened right now. I'm scared and I shouldn't be. and we need to fix this problem so that I don't feel like that, so that then we can truly say all lives matter, because not, one group isn't being targeted more than another.
Yeah, I think the biggest analogy I've seen that didn't even deal with people was about houses on fire. If your house is on
Yes.
fire and the firemen go and spray all the other houses around your house, but doesn't spray your house first,
What good does it do?
yeah, what good does it
What
do?
good does it
And
do?
I was like, wow, more people need to see that because I think
Yeah.
right now they're only seeing, and I hate it, is the color of people's skin. But if they
Yeah.
realize that, hey, it's about houses, it's about possessions, then maybe they'll get in their mind, oh, wait a second,
Right.
my way of thinking is not right because of
Yeah.
this.
Exactly. And I saw another or it was a sign at a protest actually, and someone shared the sign, but it was a mom and had a picture of her beautiful, beautiful, beautiful boy on it. And it just said, when does he stop being cute and start being a threat? And that hit home for me. And I was just like, when does that happen, like at what age, and I think even in future conversations that I hope I don't have to have with Ethan, but I'm prepared to have with him, like when he starts driving and when he gets his first job, and just talking to him about, well, if you're driving late at night, how to behave or act, or do this or do that. And so I hope these are conversations that I don't have to have. um and it's nothing's going to be solved overnight or in a week, and I'm realistic and I don't expect that, but the acknowledgement and the work of coming together, I hope at least helps push us more so in that direction.
That is so true. I mean, honestly, my girls get a little bit of the racism because they're half.
Biracial.
They're half. When I say biracial, a lot of people think, "Oh, you're married to a black man." I'm like, no, there's other
No,
races.
there are other races. let's let's learn about that first.
But it's like the older two right now are in Los Angeles. They're in
Hmm.
California because Maddie lives in California and Michaela's out
Yeah.
there doing an internship and at an architecture firm out there. And they actually went to a taco truck on the side of the road, and they felt like the worst ever. The people made so much fun of them because
Oh,
all they could see off of them was that they were white because they white.
yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
they don't look
That's
Hispanic.
so sad. And like that shouldn't even be a thing. Again, I love, like, I mean, I mentioned I love to eat. Um, I'm a military brat. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago originally anyway. So, um, I've just grown up eating so many different types of food, and but I understand that too. There are times where I've gone into certain restaurants, and if it's a different cuisine, of a different culture, like you do kind of feel like they're looking at you like, well, what's she doing here? What does she even know about? And it's just like, listen, I like tacos just like the next person, or whatever it is. It's it that shouldn't make a difference.
But unfortunately, in the world we live in right now, it does make a difference. And
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I actually wrote a post about immigration, and my girls were like, "Mama, please don't post it. Please don't post it," because they were scared something was going to happen to their dad. So,
You know, I have strong feelings on that, just because I saw my mom go through, or everything that I saw my mom go through in order to get our citizenship. Um, and it's not easy. And I'm thankful that I was 16 when she got her citizenship, because then I automatically got it underneath her. Um, I can't imagine having to take that test. Like, the questions that were on there that she had to study and prepare and answer for are questions that I know, if I, first of all, if you asked me and I was, I've gone to school in the American system all the years of school. But if you asked anyone on the street, like, some of these questions, who was the 13th president? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
You could tell me, like, I mean, if it wasn't like, George Washington or Abraham Lincoln, like, I don't know. I don't know who
Mhm.
the 13th. I don't even know who's the second. Who's the second president? I don't know. I know the first one because he was number one, and I know the 16th. So, like, there's just so many questions and things that were on there that I'm like, nobody knows this stuff. Why is this what's important for, for you to learn, and for this test? But I mean, that's what it is, and it is what it is. But it's not an easy process. I don't take for granted that I have my citizenship. I'm thankful for it, um, and I'm thankful for the efforts that my mom put in. I think more people should talk about immigration and talk about that process. I feel like there are a lot of things that need to be done to make that process different. Um, I think I think there are people in power who make immigrants seem less than, like they're not of value, or like they're not good people. Um, and you see that in the media, and people take that and they run with it instead of finding out for themselves. And some of my favorite people are people that are not from this country, and
Yep.
some of the most welcoming people, some of the most loving people, some of the most non-judgmental people are people who are not from this country. And I just mean that in terms of people who have shown kindness to me, even if they didn't know me, even if it, like there's a there's a there's a difference in cultures, between American culture and cultures from countries in other worlds. And one thing I can say is that other cultures have such a different demeanor when it comes to being welcoming and loving and open with others that you don't necessarily get here. And I wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't that way.
Yeah. One of the ones I know we both love, Sophia, said, yes, we need to raise
Yeah,
awareness about that. There are other races.
there are. And Sophia is one of my favorite people, and she makes me these delicious arepas, and I don't know what I would do without her. So
I'm so jealous that you can work.
I have missed those in quarantine very much.
Well, one of the things I do want to tell everybody about is on Thursday, I'm doing the men's panel for
Ooh.
about race. And this time we're doing a little bit different. I have one guy who's a former professional soccer player.
Hmm.
Immediately when I reached out to him, he was like, "Hey," he's like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll do it. I'll check it out." And then he's like, "No, wait a second." He says, I don't even have to say yes. I mean, I don't have to check it out to know that I want to do this.
Yeah.
Check it out to see how it went." And he's going to actually tell us about how the world goes, how globally it is,
Yeah.
because
We've been keeping an eye out. There are a lot of people that are angry along with us. London has knocked down some statues and thrown them in the water. There have been protests all over. France has stepped in. One thing I'll say, it's surprising. Black people are everywhere. We are everywhere. And I remember like living in Italy, and going to Paris for a trip one weekend. And I was just so surprised at the African population there. There were so many African people. And I was like, this is not what I thought Paris would look like. And so, there's, that's something that I just feel like, there are questions that everyone has about each other. And so again, I just come back to like fostering and having these conversations. Like, no question is stupid. Ask them. There are questions that I like. I mean, and sometimes it can be so stupid, like something, something. One of my friends, she's white, but she laughs at me all the time because I remember once she had mentioned like washing her hair, and I was like, "Didn't you just go get your hair done like a day ago?" And I was like, "Didn't you get like highlights or something?" And she was like, "Yeah, like 2 days ago." And so I was like, "So you're washing your hair? It's only been 2 days." Because for me, with the type of hair texture I have, when I get my hair done, like I don't wash my hair for like another week or 2 weeks. But the type of hair texture that she has, she needs to wash her hair like every day or every other day. But like, my question isn't coming from a place of like blatant ignorance or anything like that. It's just honestly like I was like, well, that's weird. I don't wash my hair after I get my hair done in 2 days. And so I just asked her about it, and we had this conversation, and then I was aware and educated, and I'm like, oh, all right, well, that makes sense. Thanks. Let's move on with our lives. And so that's what it's all about, just having these conversations regardless of, if you think it's a dumb question. Like, that's something that I've been sharing with the followers on my Instagram. It's just like, please, like, feel free to DM me and ask me, and I'll answer you. It might take me a little bit of time, but I'm not going to forget. I will get back to you because it's important.
You honestly need to do an IGTV.
I know, I know. Like you're not the first person to tell me that.
You have your husband like in the background feeding you the
Uh,
question, and then you answer instead of
Listen,
going.
if you can get that man to say something on camera, I'll buy you another blog cabin. He's like, no, he hates the way he sounds. It's like pulling teeth with that one. So um, we'll see. I've definitely had more than one person mention doing like an IGTV and answering the questions on there. So maybe I'll put my ring light to use and like set it up on a tripod and I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, because I mean,
This was a
honestly,
step. I've never done a live, so I was like, all right, a little baby step.
now I will tell everybody that's watching. Marissa was really nervous. She's like, I'm really nervous. I don't know how to do a live. I'm so scared. I'm like, you're fine. You're
Sophie knows Sophie's done lives, and she's like, you should do a live, and we should do a live, and I'm like, I don't know.
She never come on for too long. So yeah, I'm coming for you. So, they're in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat, but they're talking about your food, what
Oh
you
my
want,
god.
and they're talking about the reunion. I need some. Well, I'll send you some. And then your friend Carrie said we
Oh
need to
my
get
gosh.
Carrie on camera.
Carrie lives in California, and so we've been chatting and we've become friends through Style Collective, and we. Well, I mean, I talk with her every day. Honestly, I don't think there's a day. So I hope that we can actually meet in real life soon.
In California. Well, I'm actually going to be heading out to California in July because
Ooh,
I'm actually going to be visiting my two daughters and bringing one of them
nice.
back.
Oh, that'll be so nice.
Gracie and I are heading that way.
California is so beautiful too. I've been a couple times for work, and like every time I go out there, like I've gone to San Francisco for work. I've gone to San Diego. I love San Diego, and it took everything I had to come back. I told Lara, I was like, we should just move to San Diego. They have the most amazing avocados and fresh seafood, and that's all I need. And then I met up with a friend from high school who lives there while I was out there, and he's like, here are the rent prices. And I was like, you know what, forget the avocados and the fresh seafood, I'm just gonna come back to North Carolina. Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I know you guys are going to have to work, so I'm okay if I have Wi-Fi because I can still work from there, but be able to be around it. But also, I get the bonus of the adopted son, Paul. He's stationed in California as well, so I can him as
Nice.
well. So I get
Oh,
to hug
that'll be
his
so
big
good.
neck. I get to hug his neck because I was like, I just want to give you a hug right now. And he's like, you will soon, Madre.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that'll be so good. I'm so happy. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Sophia says I need to push you because you're a natural, and she
Oh
doesn't.
my god.
And I agree with Sophia. I agree.
I'll just agree to disagree.
I will tell you, I did not want to do it when I first started, but if you come on and you come on with a friend, and the more you get used to doing it,
I think I could do that. Like if I was having like a conversation, I feel like by myself, I don't know. And I think too, I would focus on like, is anyone watching? And then if it's like one person or no people, I'm like, why am I on here talking? Like nobody's even looking at this thing. So I don't know. Baby steps. I started today, which is like a huge thing. So we'll see what happens.
well, I will say now that you brought up the immigration issue, I definitely want you back on to talk about the immigration issue. And I've already mentioned about Shades of Influence coming on. So
Yes, I would love to get together with the girls so we could do this together. We did Molly's podcast this week, and that was so much fun. And I think the episode will be out tomorrow. So I'll keep you posted on that. But it was actually really fun to get together with the three of them because, we have things in common and we have things that, that are different with each of our lifestyles. You know, Tiffany's actually married. Her husband is white and she has a biracial daughter. And then Shaquita is married and she has a bonus son. And so I feel like the way that we see all of this and the way that it affects all of us is so different, and each of our stories are so unique. And so I think that would be awesome to have that on there. Uh-oh, I've been discovered in my office.
which one?
AJ. He's like outside the door. I can hear him.
He's like, come on, let me in.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think that's probably our cue to kind of tell everybody good night.
Thank you for having me on here. It was amazing, and you made it so easy to just just have a conversation and talk about things. And so I will 100% be open to coming back and having another chat from your blog cabin. Maybe when all of this is over, I could actually be in your blog cabin and we could just like do it that way.
Yeah, that might be interesting. I mean, I did have one. I don't know if you would want to go back and look at it. I did have one with my girls were here, all three of my
Yeah.
girls,
I
and
love your girls.
it's probably the funniest one I've ever done because my middle daughter Michaela was just like total on it, and she was cracking everybody up, and it was just
Oh my gosh. I would,
yeah.
yeah, no. And I want to go back and look at the one from last week too with the panel. So now I know what I'm doing tonight.
So guys, check out Marissa. She is Shabby Chic Cheap, and on our Shades of Influence on Instagram and at Shabby Chic Cheap. Why did you name your blog that? I
I
always get
know. It's like
tongue-tied.
the worst tongue twister. I'm so sorry.
On Instagram. So
Yeah.
thank you, Marissa, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Guys.